So today I would like to be talking about, I'm Petra Carmichael from Yoga Divya Yoga Zagreb. We're here in my house um, trying to tonight talk about a little bit about yoga, about food, and about ayurveda, and studying ayurveda, and all sorts of things. And I just would like to say about how yoga influenced me, my life, and the whole packet as a being, a person, whole packet as be viewing a life itself, and it really had a huge impact on me. I started years ago. I don't know. I don't count them anymore. It's better, I think. And it actually happened because my mom was sick, and I got inspired by that to start to change things around in my life. And I actually did start it with food, because they don't say just like that food is very important. Whatever you eat, that's what you are, and that's very, very important part of our lives. And people don't even pay attention to it. Usually people, eat very fast food. As soon it's done, that's better, because I already have something else to do. And I know it. I also live that life. I mean, even as a yoga teacher, you have many, many things to do, and you have to finish them, and there is always hard to find time to cook, to prepare food and stuff like that. But I'm trying my best. So every time, every day I cook, sometimes twice a day, and I do find the time for that. And it's very important to choose what you want to eat, what kind of food. Like there was this question, I study Ayurveda, and a question was today, how does food influence our minds? Does a person, when he starts to do yoga or start learning about Ayurveda, has to start from the head to change the life around, or does the person just first start eating well, maybe, and change their mind with the time? And I think that's very important. Every person is different. Some people will start from that side of changing their mind, changing the way they're thinking. But that's probably people who like to think more, or whatever the kind of a person it is. But also, for me, it was the inspiration that my mom was very, very sick, and I wanted to help her. And I started to think about that sentence that I said, that whatever we eat, that's what we are. And I started to see how much difference it is when you're not eating meat, let's say. Just the first step. I mean, for some people it's very difficult. For me it wasn't, because I never really liked meat so much, so it was no big deal, and that was her recommendation, that she should be stopping eating meat. So we started to, adjust the cooking for her. And myself, I ate with her, so I felt the difference, and it was something very, very amazing for me. How much lighter a person can feel, how different I seem to be behaving in different situations. And I think that's very, very important. It was an important step, a first step for me. And then I started to look into yoga philosophy, yoga asanas, the whole 8 limbs which goes with yoga. And one of them is, I kept going with the food, and I started to know that there exists Ayurveda, which is basically Veda, or knowledge about how to eat and be well without being sick, or that's some kind of a preparation for precaution for being healthy. And it's very, 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 very important very inspiring when you start, studying about things like that. It's our dog. Anyway, it does influence. At the moment, I'm pregnant, and the changes as a future mom in the body are amazing, and you really feel like you thought, because you've been doing yoga for a long time, that you have totally balanced and nothing can surprise you and stuff, and now it's very different. And there are big changes, and there are ups and downs, and definitely emotional roller coaster is happening. But I think thanks to yoga and all these practices that I've been doing, and also very well eating, I think person can deal with it much, much better. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
And about emotions, for example, so we start to eat better, and start to have better mind, we start to have more balanced mind. But about the emotions, because with the daily life and daily problems we must to live with, not our emotions not all the time stable. Sometimes we are much more anxious, and sometimes more depressed. How in Ayurveda we can eat in a way to balance that?
Well, in Ayurveda you have 3 different prakritis, which are the natures of the person. Every single person has these 3 different prakritis. And with understanding these natures, or doshas, as they call them in Sanskrit, you can understand why some people are reacting this way, and why some people are reacting that way, why am I reacting this way. When you start understanding these things, you are much calmer, because you kind of, when you get into some kind of incident, and some person kind of attacks you verbally or physically, whatever it is, and when you know the knowledge, and you can roughly say, okay, this person is this and that, and you understand why this is happening, why he reacts this way, and you have more understanding.
We can say, for example, that when some people try to hurt us, we became a little bit more Pitta, for example, and then we need to eat something to balance that. So when we realize that we have more rajas,
we need to calm it down. So the Pitta or the rajas is basically the fire, is the fiery action which is happening. Rajasic action is the action itself. And Pitta, as you said, when you're getting angry, you basically rise in your Pitta. And you need to calm it down, so you can basically cool it down with cold drink, or with some kind of cooling food, or you can just have a cold shower, as they say normally. Everyone knows that having cold shower really, really works for that, as the water also purifies the body.
And if we are depressed, for example, so it's not Pitta, it's more Tamasic.
It's Tamasic, yes.
So people should eat
People
something.
should lighter food, but it should be cooked, it should be warm, because you need also warmness in the body when that happens. Because depression is kind of, everyone is kind of, they trying to keep themselves thin, and trying to be protective. They're protecting themselves, and their mind is very imbalanced, very weak. So they need to slowly start opening up. So that's together with yoga, opening up asanas, opening the hearts, back bends and stuff like that, really works for that. But yeah, it's all packaged. It's very, very nice.
That's very interesting. And so, if you really can deal with these emotions, and we can recognize these emotions in us, we can eat something that will help us to balance.
Yes. It's not just about eating. Ayurveda is not just about eating. It's about behaving. It's about understanding. It's about the whole natural balance. It's learning. It's a very deep learning. My study is 3 years study at university for that, so it can tell you, it really is deep study. But for a normal person, just to understand the doshas, just the natures of people, how everyone has predominance of certain doshas. So if someone is predominant Pitta, he might get quickly angry, he might react really fast, they look certain way, every type of the predominancy looks certain way.
And during our during the year, for example, changing the weather or changing our phases, sometimes we have some kind of problem. Our levels of Pitta and Vata and Kapha also change.
It changes with the weather, it changes with the age as well. When you start, when you're a little person or a little baby, you're basically Kapha. Everything is pretty heavy and it's growing, so Kapha is a little bit heavy, kind of, then everything is very compact. And then when you are adult, it's basically Vata, which is the airy kind of, sorry, you are Pitta, which is the strong personality, you are very productive, you are very energetic.
The ego is more...
Yes, the ego is also
ego is
stronger,
working.
yeah, it's working very well. And then at the old age, the Vata comes in, when everything dries up a little bit. That's why older people have a dry skin, and the ojas and everything which is sticking inside, they kind of drying off, and everything starts to be a little bit squeezed in, so it's not the movement and everything, it shows up on that.
Interesting. We should have this in mind when we eat and when we cultivate our lifestyle, our age, the weather.
The weather and the time of the year as well. You know, there is a certain time of the year when there is the autumn and the spring. I think is the Vata. No, I wouldn't say it right. Is it the Vata? Autumn and the spring is Vata. The summer is Pitta.
It depends also on the region, for example.
On the region, yeah.
But
But
spring in Europe is different spring from Brazil.
if you're talking, this is so you have it divided in Ayurveda on just the two hemispheres, north or the south. So if you are on the southern or northern, so we are in northern hemisphere in here. So I'm talking in that perspective. Autumn and spring is Vata. Summer is Pitta. And winter is Kapha.
Interesting. Yoga with Ayurveda teachings, knowledge, and the lifestyle that yoga proposes as well, it's a little bit different from the mass culture we have. So how yoga studio survive and deal with that, live in a world that this is not the values we have commonly. So it's we're trying to at some time to swim against the flow, against the current.
Normal happenings. Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, on one side it's very easy because there is always people who want to learn new things and they do understand. People in general, people think that yoga is just some kind of a stretching, but they do know that it brings calmness in their minds. So that's what attracts them. Sometimes it's just the body. They just wanna stretch themselves and they wanna have nice bath or whatever it is. They wanna learn breathing maybe because they have some kind of breathing problems. So it's more physical at the beginning usually. Of course there is some. I would say this is the majority of people when they're coming into the yoga class. Then there you have people who are very spiritual. Then they're looking for more the spiritual part of the sense of it. So they start with meditation. They don't start with asana practice or physical practice. And it actually usually takes them much longer to get into that part, because that's the type of the person. They might be a little bit of kapha person. heavy, you know, because they don't want to be moved around. They are very, very stable to be sitting because they have this nature in them. Or they just simply are that way. But usually I think majority is looking for that physical part of it. And also being in Zagreb and living in many countries in the world, yoga is very, very special whole technique and whatever you would like to proposition towards the living, towards the life. You know, it's a lifestyle. It's not a religion or anything like it. It is a lifestyle. It teaches you how to think, how to live, how to eat, how to breathe. It teaches you the basic things that should be taught in
school.
The schools. Yes, definitely. I had this very interesting conversation with one guru in Mysore, India, and he was just saying, you know, people should be, and in India they actually do have yoga in the schools. It should be in every single school all around the world. Every elementary school should have yoga practices, not just the physical ones.
So we must talk a little bit, because if we imagine that we will have yoga in the schools, we will create different citizens, different society. So we arrive in politics. For example, now we were watching some protests, not only in the Arab world, now in Libya. It starts in Tunisia and then Egypt and now Libya. We have some protests as well in Europe, not only in Greece, but something's changing in Iceland. Now we start to have some problems here in Zagreb. So if we imagine this new culture, new lifestyle that yoga proposes, how the world will organize itself? For example, when we talk about the healthy lifestyle for the individual, how can we imagine that more yogi society it will be?
Well, just considering the food, let's say, yogis are very close to the nature. Even ayurveda, it's very connected. It's the same. It comes from the same kind of Vedas, from same place. It comes from India, and it's very close to the nature. And people start to be more concerned about which way it's the actual vegetable or whatever we are eating is being grown or has become, how it has become. And it's all about studying the energies as well, and it's very, very important to know that the actual fruit was picked by hand by someone, and it's actual natural, it's not sprayed with some chemicals, and it's brought more
big company.
Yeah, but it's not brought by some huge company, and there are people working like machines and just, you know, being suffering basically. I'm not saying that everyone is suffering in big companies, but it's happening a lot. And the whole process is very important. So the chemicals in the body, which we are already taking every day, this mixture of chemicals into our bodies, through the food, through the breathing, the air, which you can't fix really anymore, through the water, and some people smoke, some people drink alcohol. It's all these toxins that we take in. We start to be more conscious about how much we really want it inside, because we feel if we start eating better and well, that we feel well. So I think if people doing yoga more and start to be more conscious about these kind of things, they will, the world would create in a totally different way.
You think people will cooperate more, for example?
Yes.
Instead to live in a world more competitive, we create more.
So that's the thing about yoga, there is no competition. Sometimes it can happen. It happens a lot. There is even competitions in yoga in India, which is really funny. But yoga itself, when you're really doing it as a lifestyle, there is no competition. It should be lifestyle. Lifestyle can't be competition. I can't be saying, look, my lifestyle is better than yours.
In other subject we were talking about to record, it is about teaching. Yeah, it's a subject for yoga teachers. We know that probably some yoga teachers we watch, and we'd like to think about this challenge, not to teach to one person, but when we teach a group. And sometimes the group start to have one personality. What we can do to keep one very nice dynamic to the group, and how we can deal with this group personality.
That's what I found with teaching. I've been teaching now really for years, and what I found was very interesting, that when you're teaching the Mysore style, then you teach a sequence of asanas and people repeating every time when they come in, and they have to concentrate, they really have to know what they're doing. They're learning it really slowly, but they become very dedicated. And if you have different kind of personality, I can talk to every single person individually. So it's much easier to deal with different kind of personalities. In that perspective, it's much easier, but you also have to follow their practice. And you have to adjust them, you have to give them the suggestions, and you have to help them out, and you have to, as a teacher, you should be teaching them yoga, not just the asanas, but you should be teaching them through the teaching what yoga really is, about the balance, about the whole 8 limbs, about everything what yoga sustains.
The attitude.
The attitude towards themselves, towards the others. It's all in Mysore style. When you're teaching let class, it's easy because they have to follow you. You know, it's not difficult because there is 20 people in the room, or I don't know how many. You are there on your own, and you're teaching them, and you lead them. You tell them exactly what to do, and they keep following. That's okay. That's perfect. But it's very easy to teach because you just repeating. That's why I like to teach that only once a week. Me as a teacher. Everything else is Mysore style because it's individual, it's therapeutic, it's yoga. You know, I'm not saying that everything else is not yoga, but for my type of personality,
to each one. Yeah.
Yes. It's sometimes it's very difficult. Even in Mysore style, some people are very strong. They have very strong personalities, and they very hardly accept you as a teacher, especially when they are older or whatever it is. I mean, ego, high ego, whatever the reactions are, and it's very sometimes for a teacher it's very challenging to deal with that, and so that's where you do your yoga.
To teach is to learn a lot as well.
Yes, yes, it's totally two-way thing. Two-way thing, and so it's amazing.
We can say that there's groups more Pitta, groups more Kapha.
Yeah, well, it's also when you're teaching a let class, so when you're teaching them and telling them what to do, it really depends on your personality and on your state of mind, because you can do very flowing Vata kind of, you know, practice, and it all influences them. It really does. So you can do that way. Then you have, when you are very Rajasic or you have a lot of energy in you, you can be really Pitta-like oriented. You know, you can really do the practice on, like, you know, it's been hard, but it's done. And then you can do it really slowly also. You can also have days when you are low on energy and simply you can't really do it right away. Then a little bit slow, but too slow. Not like Vata flowy, but softer and almost heavy. You know?
It's interesting. A theory workshop
Right.
This helps us to have
Connect
better
things.
synchrony about the attitude. Sometimes we are watching people practicing, and we can see different attitudes. And we can see some people are practicing with one more aggressive attitude, and sometimes people are practicing with very subtle and sometimes maybe lazy attitude. And I think I don't know, this workshop I gave on Saturday, it was about the attitude we practice. This is very important, I think, in the theory, and for example, know a little bit about ayurveda and think about that changes.
But that's also yoga, you know. That's how you teach, how you learn about that. You have to go through it to find out. Okay, actually, you know, to find that balance. I talk about this a lot with people. To find that balance, the actually that edge when you are actually doing too much.
Yeah.
And start to, you know, forcing yourself, or to find it if you are actually lazy and just don't feel like doing it. It's always like this all the time.
I used to say that the good practice is in the balance between ahimsa and tapas. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if too much tapas, it's hard. And if it's too much ahimsa, it's also not good.
Not good. Yeah. Yes. You have to find that balance. Definitely. I should explain what tapas. Let's say tapas is that every day you're doing the thing. It's your choice of doing a practice.
Discipline.
Discipline. It's a discipline. Yeah. That's a perfect word, I think, for it. And ahimsa is doing things without hurting yourself or the others. So to find that balance in between those two is very, very important. And it's very hard to judge it for yourself and judge it for someone else. Because you never know how that person feels.
Yeah.
You never know how much power and how much what's been happening with them yesterday, what's been happening with them today. How much they slept, how much you can't ask them all these questions, and even if they answered, you can't.
It's not perfect.
It's, you know, it's not you.
So the best guru is yourself.
Yes, definitely. You are the guru. There is no. All the gurus, all teachers are just guides. They are just guides.
Help you to find your own master.
Exactly.
And sometimes people in yoga world don't understand that.
No.
Sometimes they want a
Again,
guru
balance.
then reveal the truth.
Because they think they are gods. They can be sometimes, but
some
they are
yoga
not.
celebrities.
Yeah, they are. Sometimes they are yoga celebrities. Sometimes people simply exaggerate the whole thing about it. Personally, I kissed my guru's feet and I leaned over and I gave my blessings and thanks and everything. And I found it nice, but it doesn't mean that I'm crazy or something. That I just felt like doing it because I thought that first of all, it has a huge what do you call it? Influence on your ego, on your personality,
Your emotions as well.
your emotions, and it gives you something back. It's hard to explain actually. It gives you something, a huge strength on the other side, from that perspective that you actually, like a lot of people, at first you're thinking like, I'm never gonna do this. Why would I be kissing or leaning over someone's feet?
Or be grateful, yeah, totally
or be
grateful, humble.
or humble in front of someone, of a person. It's very hard for people to do that. But then when you do it, actually, and you realize you're really doing it from your heart, you're not doing it just because everyone else is doing it, it's a huge impact on you. And I think people, I'm not saying that people have to be kissing someone's feet or anything, but definitely people should have this in them and carry it with them to give thanks every day.
Gratitude.
The gratitude is very, very important. And I give thanks through the mantra, and I really mean it.
But the gratitude we can also feel by the food, we can feel the gratitude by the sun, or a tree, a dog, or a friend, a mother,
anything. And that approach is so important.
To cultivate this state of gratitude.
Yes.
For your tea, for
my tea, and like not just drink it and go forward again for something else, but really appreciate it. Like, this is real tea. That's what we're talking about today. How people are always in the rush. Why someone signs up for so many things and never have time for anything and doesn't actually enjoy it. People should, okay, if they have so much energy and they can do many things at once, it's fine. But are they actually enjoying it? Are they actually present? Are they there? Are they understanding that it's happening? Or are they already thinking about the other thing which they have to manage and do? That's very important. And the gratitude helps with that, I think. Because you start thinking backwards, you start thinking, what am I really thinking it for?
What I'm living for.
What I'm living for, what I'm doing. Well, right now I'm talking and I'm drinking a tea and I'm cooking, by the way. It's green. Foi escute, não? Escute para você.
If you want to say something in Czech, you can also.
Ahoj!
If you want to say something in Croatian.
Dobar večer.
Classes are in Croatian?
The classes are in Croatian, sometimes in English. In Czech as well, that's the difficult part.
Meni je ovo prvi put da slušamo jogi i super bio.
Da. See, it's very difficult. Like, you know, when you said to me, like, I'm gonna put camera in front of you, you have to talk about yoga, I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to say, you know? But when you get some kind of idea, there is a subject I would like to care, you know, I would like to share with people. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, but I had, you know, also resistance to do something public, because sometimes we criticize this huge and powerful new things, Google, YouTube and all this internet were changing the society. But, for example, today, filming in the square, I count about 15 cameras. 15, not only, you know, officials and huge medias, but people with small cameras, photographic cameras, and everybody recording the situation. And I realized that now for us maybe it's a little bit new, that is a new...
Here definitely, this doesn't happen that often in Zagreb.
But I think probably in more...
As much I know.
But
I don't know much about it.
These protests or
the protests, I don't hear much about protests in Croatia.
They don't show in the media, I think, about protests. In everywhere we...
But usually they do, like, if there is something... Like you said that yesterday they were talking about it in the news.
They had the protest, I think, before yesterday, something like that. They show on TV. They are against the government.
Usually they do.
But this thing to... Because in the past we had protests as well, but nobody was recording what's happening. So now we can see cameras in everywhere. In a bar, everywhere you can see cameras. And easily you can show the reality in YouTube. So this new library, and we have a library. We can sometimes when you put if you write an article, for example, if you write an article about Ayurveda and yoga, what you talked about today, how many people you think really will read everything? And if you make a video, how many people will be interested about Ayurveda and yoga, and then maybe they will say, hey, they will think, I will read about now.
Yes.
So I think this is something much more accessible, and I think this
It should be used.
it should be used. This is what I was deciding.
If everyone else is using it, if all the medias are using and actually have a huge influence on people, we should be doing the same thing. It's very true, very true. And you know, yogis are usually against the modern technology because you know it keeps you kind of stuck with it. You know, you're always on computers. Even like me as a yogi, I'm also always on a computer because it's a very important tool in this time of in this
must to try develop
century.
a yogi attitude.
Yeah, but yes,
during
yes.
using computer.
Exactly, exactly. That's a good theme.
Yeah.
What's the yogi attitude?
Yeah.
It's a good theme, yeah. But well, that's the thing. That yoga is 24 hours a day, 24/7, as I say. You do yoga all the time. You don't do yoga just on your mat. Like today, let's say in the school, we have beautiful teachers from Sri Lanka. They come from London because that's where they live right now. And
in your ayurveda
and
study.
they are, yes, in my ayurveda study. And they are very, very, very nice. But sometimes they kind of get carried away, and it's very hard for us because it's a new year. It's the first year for us. It's very hard to understand what they're trying to say because they start to use a lot of Sanskrit terms, a lot of special terms, and it's hard to follow. And this is really intensive course because we have like for 5 days. It's from the morning till the evening, so we can hear everything, and then we have to study the rest of the month. This is every month like this. And today I got a little bit, I have to admit, angry because I couldn't understand the professor, and I was trying to lead him to some kind of an answer, but he couldn't really help me. Maybe it was me, maybe it was him, I don't know. I mean, also 8 hours or 9-10 hours a day of listening, and
it's heavy.
It's very heavy, you know. And but this was in the morning. So I was fresh and he was fresh. It was really strange. But I was also talking to the other people, and they said the same thing, that they couldn't understand. So I went to him, and everyone is complaining and no one is doing anything about it. And this is what I learned in yoga. I was like, okay, if something bothers me,
let's solve.
Let's solve it. Let's not just, you know, as we say, bitch about it.
Let's eat a chocolate cake and forget about it.
Yes, yes. Let's solve it.
Let's solve.
So nicely I came to him and I explained him my feelings. I was like, look, I really appreciate the way, whatever you know, what you're trying to tell us, but it's very hard when there is no structure. Everything, every point that I didn't like about it, I told him. And he perfectly accepted it. He didn't say thank you or anything. He was like, yeah, you're right, you know. And after the break,
it's different thinking in Indian thought.
Yes.
It's different music. Huh?
It's different way they talk. They put the sentences together, you know, and everything is, you've been yourself. I mean, everything in India is for us upside down.
Yeah. Because
it's totally different.
It's not a structure with a beginning, middle and ending.
Exactly.
Yeah? It's not a chronology. Yeah?
It's totally different.
Everything is mixed.
Everything is mixed. So they're very airy, you know. They tell you something and they add something totally different, and you have to be really informed to put it together, you know. But if this is our first year, we don't know that much about it.
We're still Westerns.
We are still Westerners, you know. So I was like, okay, because one of the teachers is very structured, and the other teacher is not so structured. Also structured, but not so much. And he sometimes gets, you know, a little bit carried away. And he knows, his knowledge is amazing. But, you know, so I gave him a little hint, and then after the break...
It's hard, but I cannot think.
Yeah, I was like, 2 hours, I was like, this is total waste of time for me. I would be better if I'm studying at home from the book, because I would understand it, but I can't follow him. And time is so precious.
I think this is very, very important thing. It's good that it's recording. It's a team also to how we can teach yoga for Westerns.
Yes.
Yes, because there is a different public, yeah, from Indians. Now, yoga has been teaching for Indians for 1,000 years, and then week ago arrives to the West, and sometimes we can see, on one hand, very traditional teachers. They try to teach like they teach to Indians. On the other hand, we can see teachers creating a new and modern kind of yoga. Yeah, you can go with your computers to your class, because we are Westerns, and so we must to create a new style of yoga for Westerns. So I think this is a very interesting theme as well. How we can find balance between tradition and the adaptation to bring really yoga to the people. Because if we start to be so traditional, they don't get it.
No, because people don't accept it, especially like this region. Now I'm talking from the Czech point of view. In Czech or Czechoslovakia before, when there was a communism, it was very strong communism, and there was a regime. And people in India, the way people in India teach, it's a little bit regime-like. They tell you you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to follow that.
Without
you're not supposed
criticize
to
and thinking.
criticize. You're not supposed to ask too many questions, not too much thinking. I said you do. It's very much Indian way of teaching. And in here, no chance that people are going to. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. Most of the times they don't, because people in here, they want to know why. They want to know reasons, because that's the way they taught us from the beginning.
Since René Descartes, we must have some understanding, intellectual understanding, not just follow.
Yes. Very, very important. The way you can, let's say, sell yoga to people is very different in here and then in India. Yeah, I would say a little bit different in every single country. Like there would be a little bit different way in Czech than in Croatia, although both of them used to be communist countries. But in Czech was much stronger communism than in here, and people have different kind of thinking. Croatians are much more religious than Czech, because it was so suppressed over there. So there's a different things about how to understand yoga. There's different point of views, and it's only 500 kilometers from each other, in Europe. So not even some parts will be even closer. But that's, let's say, when I'm going home, it takes me 5 hours. It's not far, but it's very
different.
Very different, very interesting.
But in other hand, we can see as well that we are watching kind of cultural globalization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In a way, we are. I don't know if you agree, but I think we became.
I see what you mean.
Closer.
Yes.
Not only.
It doesn't mean
Croatian.
that yoga is different
Mm-hmm.
in here or in Croatia or in India. Yoga is the same. It's just different approach, how to understand. It's the same thing like we were talking about at the beginning, that it depends if the person, some people start to do yoga through the physical asanas, some people through the mental part or through the spiritual part. It depends on the person, and that's exactly the same with the regions, and it's just we have different influence of different things in our lives, and that's what we follow usually. I came physically, but my partner in a studio, she came from the other part. She started with the spiritual part, with the meditations and stuff. If someone told me 15 years ago that I'm supposed to be sitting still for 20 minutes, I would say, you are totally crazy. How can you do that? Now I'm doing it every day, and twice a day and even more, and I'm totally fine with it, and I'm actually enjoying it. So it's different approach. And the same thing would be maybe for her. If someone tells her you're going to be practicing 2 hours of asanas or physical practice, she would say like, you are totally crazy, I'm not going to do that. Probably I would say her or someone else. You know, it's different approaches, and it's different approaches in countries. In India it's very much, you know, you do. I tell you do.
And you think that in India they are becoming more Westerns as well?
Yes, very much so. That's what I noticed. I went there twice for quite a long period of time. First time was 6 months, and second time was 4 months. And there was, I think, 3 years in between. And the first time I was totally blown away by the whole place. You either love India or you hate it. You know, it's a love and hate relationship with it. And I loved it. Of course, I wouldn't be staying there for 6 months. But I can see how people can hate it because it's so different. And everything is different in India. And second time, and I learned about yoga. That was my sort of beginnings about the whole system that I got to know, not the asana,
the theory as
the
well.
theory, the spiritual part of it. Because really in there you can feel it. That's where you feel what it really means. In here it's kind of hard to understand, but the whole India, it really is a special place where you can feel that. And then the second time when I came there, I saw the differences. Only in 3 years. In 3 years before that, you wouldn't see young people walking in Western clothes. You know, they would, but very little, you know, but now they would be sitting in McDonald's, you know, in places. They would have sort of Indian McDonald's, you know, sort of Indian food in it, but still.
Indian style to the Western things.
Like the things that we are now seeing, like, come on, you know, I mean, that doesn't make much sense. Why would you do that? They kind of enjoying it. They kind of look for it because they've never done it.
So we are becoming Indians and they are becoming Westerns.
And it's exactly what one of the gurus that I was speaking in India said, that first the Indians were teaching yoga to the Westerners, and then there will be a time when the Westerners will be teaching yoga again to the Indians. So always in the circles. Which is very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
But things like that. It's our dog.
Coolie!
Coolie! And
it's good to show because people will be very curious. Say, hi, Coolie!
He's vegetarian as well.
And it's true.
He can eat green leaves like nothing. He loves them. Anyway, no, but he eats meat as well.